We dedicate our lives to the paranormal. We search for answers in the shadows, stepping into places where most people would run. But what happens when the darkness you're investigating decides to investigate you? Tonight, we are diving into the chilling world of paranormal investigations gone wrong. These aren't just stories of bumps in the night or faint whispers caught on a recorder. These are the raw, unfiltered accounts of investigators who pushed the boundaries and found themselves face to face with something malevolent, something that didn't want to be found. These are the cases where curiosity led to chaos and the unknown fought back. We're talking about seasoned professionals, people who thought they had seen it all, who walked into a location and were met with a force so powerful, so aggressive, that it left them physically and emotionally scarred. It's a stark reminder that when you knock on the door of the other side, you never know what's going to answer. The energy in these places, it's heavy, it's oppressive, and it can attach itself to you. Join me as we journey into the heart of these terrifying encounters. We'll explore the evidence, the eyewitness accounts, and the chilling aftermath of what happens when a ghost hunt turns into a fight for survival. We're going to uncover the moments where the veil thinned to a terrifying degree and the investigators became the hunted. These are the stories that paranormal experts don't always like to talk about, the ones that serve as a warning that some doors are better left unopened. The Enfield case started like many others, a family terrified by strange occurrences in their North London home. But when paranormal investigators Maurice Grosser and Guy Lyon Playfair arrived in 1977, they stepped into a whirlwind of paranormal activity that would test the limits of their beliefs. They were there to document, to understand, to find answers for the Hodgson family, particularly for young Janet, who seemed to be the epicenter of the phenomenon. They had no idea they were about to witness a spiritual war zone. The energy in that house was palpable, a thick, suffocating presence that seemed to feed on fear. They documented everything. Levitations, objects flying across rooms with violent force, disembodied voices that were deep, guttural, and filled with inexplicable rage. One of the most terrifying pieces of evidence was the voice of Bill Wilkins, a former resident who claimed to have died in the house, speaking directly through Janet. The investigators felt a constant sense of being watched, of being targeted. This wasn't just a residual haunting, it was intelligent, it was interactive, and it was hostile. The entity seemed to enjoy the chaos, toying with them, pushing them to their breaking point. The investigation became an obsession, a relentless pursuit that took a heavy toll. The lines blurred between documentation and participation. The entity would throw furniture when they least expected it, start fires in empty rooms, and inflict physical harm on the family right before their eyes. Gross and Playfair were no longer just observers, they were part of the story, targets of a poltergeist that was spiraling out of control. It was a raw, powerful display of paranormal force that left them questioning everything they thought they knew about the spirit world. The house itself felt alive, and it was angry. In Atchison, Kansas, stands a house with a dark and violent reputation, the Sallie House. When paranormal investigators Tony and Deborah Pickman moved in, they were looking for a home, not a battleground. But from the beginning, the activity was intense, focused, and incredibly personal. They documented strange sounds, moving objects, and the apparition of a little girl they named Sally. But behind the innocent facade of a child's spirit lurked something far more sinister, something demonic that used the image of the girl as a mask for its true intentions. The investigation, which became their life, quickly escalated from strange occurrences to outright physical attacks. Tony bore the brunt of the violence. He would be scratched, pushed, and burned by an unseen force. We're talking about deep, bloody scratches appearing on his chest and back out of nowhere, often in sets of 3, a mockery of the Holy Trinity. The psychological torment was relentless. The entity seemed to know their fears, their weaknesses, and it exploited them without mercy. It wanted them out, and it was willing to inflict serious harm to achieve its goal. The energy in the Sallie House was suffocating, a heavy blanket of pure malevolence. Other paranormal teams who dared to investigate reported the same terrifying phenomena. They captured EVPs filled with threats, witnessed objects being thrown by an unseen hand, and felt the chilling touch of something inhuman. The house became a laboratory for paranormal terror, a place where the veil was so thin you could feel the breath of the other side on your neck. The Pickmans were eventually forced to flee, leaving behind a home that had become a prison, a testament to an investigation that uncovered a darkness too powerful to confront. The Amityville Horror. The name alone honestly just sends a chill down your spine. Back in 1976, famed demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren stepped into the house on 112 Ocean Avenue, a location already infamous for the DeFeo family murders and the terrifying experiences of the Lutz family who, actually fled after just 28 days. The Warrens brought a team, including a TV crew, hoping to document the dark energy that pretty much permeated the home. They understood the risks. They knew they were walking into a place where a powerful, negative entity resided, but even they were not prepared for the consequences. The investigation itself was, intense. Lorraine, a gifted clairvoyant, was immediately overwhelmed by a demonic presence describing the house as a gateway, a hell mouth. The team captured what has become one of the most iconic and honestly chilling paranormal photographs of all time. The image of a small boy with glowing eyes peeking out from a doorway. During a séance, the energy became so heavy, so oppressive, that Ed Warren himself was physically affected, feeling a force trying to push him to the ground. They were directly challenging a demonic entity on its own turf. But the true terror of the Amityville investigation wasn't just what happened inside the house, but what followed them out. The dark energy of that location is known to attach itself to people, to follow them home like a spiritual parasite. Members of the crew and the Warrens themselves reported experiencing paranormal activity and unexplained phenomena in their own homes for weeks after the investigation. It was a disturbing reminder that when you confront such a powerful evil, it doesn't always stay where you found it. The Amityville case proved that some hauntings don't have an end, they just find new victims. There's a place in Wilder, Kentucky, that paranormal investigators call one of the most dangerous locations in America. Bobby Mackey's Music World. It's a country music nightclub built over what is rumored to have been a 19th century slaughterhouse with a history stained by murder, suicide, and rumored satanic rituals in its basement. The stories say there's a portal, a gateway to hell located in a sealed-off well in the cellar. Investigators who enter don't just go looking for ghosts, they go prepared for a spiritual battle. The energy here is not just residual, it's active, intelligent, and incredibly violent. Numerous paranormal teams have attempted to conduct full-scale investigations, and honestly, many have been forced to flee in terror. The reports are shockingly consistent violent physical attacks, including being scratched, shoved, and having heavy objects thrown at them. One of the most famous incidents involved a caretaker who was possessed, speaking in a demonic voice and displaying superhuman strength. Investigators have captured Class A EVPs with clear threatening messages telling them to get out or warning of their impending death. The air is thick with a sense of dread, a feeling that you are trespassing on unholy ground. One particular investigation stands out where a team was documenting in the basement near the infamous well. Suddenly, the atmosphere turned electric. Their equipment malfunctioned simultaneously. A guttural growl echoed from the darkness, and a heavy metal barrel was violently thrown across the room, narrowly missing a crew member. The team, shaken and realizing they were completely outmatched, aborted the investigation immediately. They understood they were not dealing with a human spirit. They had provoked something ancient and demonic, and it was making its power known. Bobby Mackey's remains a terrifying example of a place where the paranormal doesn't just bump in the night, it attacks. Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. A massive Gothic monument to suffering and death. An estimated 63,000 people died within these walls, many from the brutal realities of tuberculosis. When you walk onto this property, the sheer weight of that collective sorrow hits you like a physical force. It's a location that draws paranormal investigators from all over the world, but it's also a place that has a reputation for breaking them. The sheer scale of the paranormal activity can be completely overwhelming, a constant barrage on the senses and the spirit. One team of experienced investigators entered Waverly Hills for a weekend lockdown, fully equipped and prepared for what they thought would be a landmark investigation. They started on the 4th floor, known for its shadow people and disembodied voices. Almost immediately, they were inundated. Full-bodied apparitions were witnessed. Objects moved on their own, and every member of the team reported being touched, pushed, or having their hair pulled. The activity wasn't isolated. It was everywhere. A cacophony of paranormal phenomena happening all at once, creating an environment of pure chaos and fear. The breaking point came in the infamous body chute, the 500-foot tunnel used to transport the dead away from the hospital discreetly. As the team investigated the dark, suffocating tunnel, they were overcome by an intense wave of despair and hopelessness. One investigator, a seasoned veteran, broke down completely, weeping uncontrollably and begging to leave. The dark, heavy energy of the location had latched onto his own emotions, amplifying his fear and sadness to an unbearable degree. The team had to cut the investigation short, leaving traumatized and emotionally drained. Waverly Hills taught them a hard lesson. Sometimes the sheer volume of spiritual energy in a place is too much for any living person to handle. We've walked through the shadows of Enfield, felt the demonic rage of the Sally House, and stood at the gates of hell at Bobby Mackey's. These stories are more than just campfire tales. They are harrowing accounts from people who sought the truth and found terror instead. The investigators in these cases were left with scars, some visible, some hidden deep within their psyche. They serve as a powerful and sobering warning about the work we do. The pursuit of the unknown is not a game. It is a serious and sometimes perilous endeavor. Remember, sometimes the search for answers can unleash more than you bargained for. When you provoke the darkness, you must be prepared for it to provoke you back. Every EVP, every shadow figure, every unexplained sound is a piece of a puzzle, but it's a puzzle that can consume you. The energy in these locations is real, it is powerful, and it can have lasting effects. These investigators learned that lesson the hard way, becoming part of the very haunting they sought to document. So, I have to ask you, after hearing these accounts, after understanding the risks involved, and seeing how a simple investigation can spiral into a fight for your sanity, would you dare to investigate the unknown? Would you be willing to step across that threshold, knowing that you might not come back the same? Think about it, because in the world of the paranormal, the deeper you search, the deeper the darkness searches into you. Stay safe out there.